Shalom, shalom. This video is about the Gospel of John, chapter 6, verse 1 to 16, and specifically about the crowd's recognition of YESHUA as the prophet like Moses that was promised in Deuteronomy. And I'll read the text for you from John 6. After which YESHUA went away to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, that is. He went from Capernaum in the northwest to the southwest. And the text says the other side is also known as the Sea of Tiberias. A large crowd kept following him because they were watching the signs he was performing on the sick. Then YESHUA went up to the mountainside and sat down there with his disciples. Passover, the Jewish feast, was near. That's what the text says. Now, I want to object immediately. Passover is not a Jewish feast. Passover is a biblical feast. The person who translated the Gospel of John from the original Hebrew text into Greek was clearly anti-Semitic, and in the spirit of the 2nd and 3rd century, maybe 4th century, but where the fledgling Roman Catholic Church were vile in their anti-Semitism, maybe comparable to what's happening today, and actually a little bit worse, I think, comparable to the days of Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. That is the roots of the Roman Catholic Church and the Gentile Church, sadly. But Passover is one of Adonai's 7 Moedim and not a Jewish feast. The translator into Greek tried to minimize the feast, and the bitter fruits of that is that we see the Christian church in our day celebrating a pagan festival onto Ishtar, a fertility goddess, instead of the biblical Passover. Okay, the text goes on. Lifting up his eyes and seeing a large crowd coming to him, YESHUA said to Philip, "Where will we buy bread so these may eat?" Now YESHUA was saying this to test him, for he knew what he was about to do. And Philip answered him, 200 denarii isn't enough to buy bread for each one to get a little bit. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, also said to him, "There's a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish, but what is that for so many?" YESHUA said, "Make the people recline." There was much grass in the area, so the people reclined, about 5,000 of them in number. Then YESHUA picked up the loaves and, having given thanks, that's the ancient bracha, he said he distributed the bread to everyone who was reclining. He did the same with the fish, as much as they wanted. When the people were full, YESHUA said to his disciples, "Gather up the leftovers so nothing is wasted." That's a good biblical principle taught by YESHUA. So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with broken pieces from the 5 barley loaves, which were left over by those who had finished eating. When the people saw the sign that YESHUA performed, they began to say, "This is most certainly the prophet who is to come into the world." And that's what we'll talk about today. Realizing they were about to come and seize him by force to make him king, YESHUA withdrew again to the mountain, himself alone. So Moses brought Israel manna to eat in the desert during the Exodus. The multiplication of bread was a comparable sign to the provision of manna and quails, bread and fish in this case. And therefore the people prayed that YESHUA most certainly is the prophet who is to come into the world, as it is written in Deuteronomy 18 verse 18, the promise of a prophet like Moses. But the fulfillment of the prophet of Moses prophecy goes deeper. Through Moses, manna and quails were provided by Adonai during the Exodus, and Adonai YESHUA certainly provided bread and fish, but he also provided the spiritual food that the people craved for, that is the bread of life, through his teaching. Moses received the Torah as Adonai's eternal guidance for all humanity, and YESHUA is the Torah made flesh. YESHUA explained how we must follow a narrow interpretation of the Torah in order to walk in his way, Derech YESHUA. He came to uphold the Torah. When he returns, the Messiah YESHUA will rule the whole world by Torah law with a rod of iron. So beware of the liars who lie to you that the Torah has been fulfilled and done away with. It hasn't been fulfilled, and it has been fulfilled, but not done away with. Those liars, those false pastors are preparing the way for the man of Torahlessness, the man of lawlessness, whom we know as the Antichrist. Moses led Israel out of the bondage of slavery to Egypt, to the promised land, the slavery in Egypt to the promised land. YESHUA leads Israel out of the bondage of slavery to sin into the promise of salvation. The spiritual blindness that came on Israel so that they don't recognize their Messiah yet was to open the door for Gentile believers to come into the covenant that Adonai made with Israel through adoption, that is, to be grafted into Abram's family tree. But now in our time, while we watch, that window of opportunity to Gentiles is closing fast, as He, Adonai, is returning to His beloved bride, to Israel and to the Jews. The valley of the dead bones are becoming alive as Ruach Elohim is blowing new life into them, into the Jews, into Israel, to return them to Him. And the time is now. Soon the groom will return for his Jewish bride. For now we are witnesses to the Bible prophecy about the end times unfolding. Shalom, shalom. And may God bless you in the difficult, challenging times that lies ahead. Shalom, shalom.